for sure, guys, that was gonna be like a for sure. And when I saw JB Wendelken getting the demotion, it really shook my head, because he was the one that gave up the run against St. Louis. But it was one of those things where, okay, we see what we get to see what he can do. You know, I mean, we already know what JB can do. You know, he has a really good pitching repertoire, good amount of movement in any pitch that he throws. So it's probably just testing out, see what else is there in the system. Trying to keep out in-house. I'm trying to keep it in-house, but it's pretty much pretty exciting to see Brian be given this chance. He hasn't pitched in the MLB since 2015, or I think it was 2016. My bad. He is now given the opportunity and really getting a look at to see what he can do. So good for him. But now let's get back to more of the serious guys who we've said before. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but now we're going to go really into depth in what they are expected to be, what they're expected to do. First up, Yusmeiro Petit. You can agree, you would have to agree actually, that he's been the second best reliever for Oakland. Without being called Liam Hendricks, Yusmeiro Petit has been that guy. 2.60 ERA, 3.90 FIP. The strikeouts have been okay. 37 strikeouts in 45 innings pitched. 7 home runs, which is kind of concerning, but he always gives up home runs anyways. And that's really where they start scoring on him. It's the home runs. I mean, he doesn't throw too hard, so it's easy contact for the hitters. But the thing that impresses me, Bob Melvin is now starting to use him in high leverage situations when we are behind the count. We need someone to get an out. You know, I mean, if you look at him, he has 45 innings pitched, and it's 39 games. It's a lot. It's a lot of games. And there's been lately, it's been more Petit than anyone else. And it used to be Trevino, but we all know how much he has regressed a little bit. Trinan used to be that last year as well, but now we get to see that from Petit, you know. And this is the type of style that Bob Melvin likes to do. If you are getting outs and you're consistently doing it, you are going to be given an opportunity in his bullpen, you know. And that's what we saw last year. That's what a lot of people were skeptical as an A's fan. You want to see the best out there to get the job done, you know. And at last year, anyone can agree that was Trinan and Trevino. Those were the best guys that can get anything done at any given time. And they were consistent throughout the whole year last year. Both of them below a 3.0 ERA. And they threw hard. They were a tough at bat for any batter that came in, righty or lefty. The sinker was used well by Trinan. And the fastball and slider was a very effective pitching step that that Trevino had. And now you just don't see both of them don't do that well, you know. And Petit, who was used to over pitching himself since he was with Los Angeles, going I think it was 92 innings as a reliever. And that's a lot of innings as a reliever, and he's used to it, you know. He's a former starter. He keeps his arm healthy, keeps himself healthy. And I think Petit is one of the safest bets to be brought back next year, bullpen-wise. Because I think everybody else, I mean, I don't know who's a guarantee, you know? Like, if you can, Hendricks, you can't say Hendricks is not favored to leave if the A's are not contending that the A's are going to keep him. You know, he's still good for next year. But if we see Hendricks next year, you know, what would the situation be? You know, the A's would have to be contending in order to keep Hendricks, because if they're not contending, they're going to let him go, and they're going to get whatever they can get for Hendricks, you know. Trevino, I think he would be another safe bet just because he's young. He has a lot of years of control. There's literally not going to be a package deal that you're going to like that's going to be offered for Torino at this moment due to his struggles. So I think the A's would rather keep him than letting him go. But Petit, you're getting him for a reasonable price for what he's doing. $5 to $6 billion of an option next year. And he does everything that you need him to do. If you need a closer to close out games, he can do it. If you need someone to start off an emergency game, he can do it. If you need someone to go multi-innings, he can do it. If you need someone to come in a high-leverage situation, he can do it. So Petit, I think, is Bob Melvin's go-to guy at any given time, and I haven't remembered seeing a very, very bad week of Petit where he's consistently doing bad. He has been a very, very big help to the A's bullpen. Very, very big help. Next up, though, these are the guys that it's going to be kind of hard to defend. Brian Buckner, with Wong doing so great right now, what does that mean for Brian Buckner? I mean, 3.68 ERA doesn't look too bad, but the 4.96 FIP means he's getting very, very lucky. The strikeout numbers are not there. 22 innings pitches, 37 games. And the 37 games, don't get fooled by the 37 games. That means he's brought in for lefty on lefty situations, something that he is usually excelling on. And now you see him not being able to do that. There's been 2 cases where he's had bases loaded and he just blew it up. Like they just did whatever they want to Ryan Buck. They knew what they were going to be thrown. They knew what was going to happen. So you really can't trust Buckner in this situation right now. And he's one of those guys that, was brought in last year, in the offseason last year, and really just flat out dominated last year. And we were used to seeing that, and that's why we had a safe bet that he was going to be the guy for being the lone lefty in the bullpen. And let's go with Soria, too. Soria, 4.78 ERA, 3.18 FIP. He's been unlucky in some situations. He's been unlucky. But Soria hasn't been anything of what we thought he was going to be. I mean, I had an expectation that he wasn't going to be as great as he was last year. And that was something I was expecting. I just had the gut feeling. But Soria, so far, has been pitching a little better. But he hasn't been anything close to what we thought he was going to be. We thought he was going to be that guy that helped out Trevino and Trinan. But to make it fair, Trinan and Trevino haven't been anything that we wanted them to be. So that is the current bullpen. If the A's were to go out right now and need their bullpen really early, they would need to use Brooks, Wong, Schiller, Petit, Hendricks, Trevino, Buckner, and Soria. Now, like I said, Petit is probably the safest guy to keep. He is going to. I think he will bring in a good package if you were to let him go and trade him. But he's too valuable to these A's. I mean, you can't really find a guy that can do that. And I think those are one of the guys that you keep in long term, at least for the next few years. Keep him in your plans and keep giving him the money that he needs, and he's still young enough to be the guy that he needs to be, and he doesn't throw too hard, so you're not going to see him depend too much on his stuff to get the outs. He's always going to consistently hit low 90s and still get outs. Schiller, we have to see more out of him in order to give him really good observation and a good prediction of what's going to happen with him. But let's go to the starters. The starters now is Fiers, Anderson, Bassett, Mengden, and Tanner Anderson. Mengden pitched phenomenally well against the St. Louis Cardinals. Pitched phenomenally well. Went to 6 or 7 innings pitched and did tremendous in that outing. Not giving up any runs. So he was a lot comfortable, and there were some situations where he got into a hard jam, but he gets out of it, and that's what he did with the Cardinals. So very, very impressed with what he did with the pretty good Cardinals team. But we need to see what he can do with Minnesota. Minnesota is really going to be where we're going to see a lot of people that are question marks in the rotation and give give the really, really true games to see what they can do. Daniel Mangden is due to be pitching in Minnesota or the last game of LA. Tanner Anderson, if he stays, he's going to be expected to be pitching in Minnesota. And that's really where you got to just be happy as an A's fan that this starting rotation is a question mark at the moment, but the guys that are getting hurt has been awful, and the Montas suspension that's going to be a tough one to get over, folks. But changing the topic, deserving all-stars. Now, I think if I say somebody, there's only 3 people that I would typically pick. If it's one of these 3 people, I'm satisfied. If it's none of these 3 people and they pick someone else, I'm going to be pissed. Chapman, first off. This is, and I'm going to tell you how good these players are by all around MLB ranks, at least the first 2. Chapman has a 4.1 WAR. He is 4th in the MLB in WAR. And that technically means WAR, for those that don't know, is wins above replacement, meaning how good he is, how much effect he comes into the team. Chapman does that. He plays great defense. He's been hitting tremendously well. And just to show you how well he's been hitting, we all know what he can be defensively. He was a Gold Glove / Platinum Glove last year. But this is what he's been doing offensively. 19 homers, 2nd in third baseman, both NL and AL. 44 ribbies, 7th overall in the MLB. 20 doubles, that has not been ranked. 82 hits, that's not ranked. 37 walks. I want to touch on that because that's 4th in with third basemen. 37 balls. This was a guy, and then the only reason why Chapman took a while to get called up was only because of the patience when he was up the plate. He had a lot of swing and miss strikeouts. What I'm basically saying, he still has it, but not as much as before. This time he's a little smarter. He's not a little. He's a lot smarter. He was not the guy that would walk a lot in the minor leagues. He didn't have that reputation. He just is starting to learn it, and that is helping him out with everything else because he's been on a tear. This season has been a very great season for Matt Chapman. A .269 batting average, which is 10th in third baseman, which is not that impressive. I know you can probably not say that it's not as impressive, but .269 is better than what Matt Chapman was predicted to be. And they were predicting him to be .240 and 20-plus homer guy, 25 or 20 homer guy. On base percentage, .353, which is 11th. And that's Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman plays outstandingly great defense. The only guy that can probably match up to Matt Chapman in defense and at his position, and I don't even think that's even a great test for Matt Chapman, is Nolan Arenado. The guy who was in the same high school as Matt Chapman is the only one that I can see be as great defensively, And we all know how great Nolan is, and Matt Chapman has been phenomenal and so far in 2019. And the team drives by him. He is the leader. He is the Captain America but he is everything. He is everything to Oakland. Everything builds around Matt Chapman, and he is one of the guys I think should deserve the All-Stars. Second guy that I wouldn't mind being an All-Star, Marcus Semien. Now, I touched on it last week. But let's just think of it like now. 3.5 WAR. That's 10th in the MLB. That's including all AL and NL teams. Marcus Semien is 10th. The same guy who has made a bunch of errors in 2015. The same guy who went 27 home runs in 2015. The guy who everyone thought he can't play short and went to be one of the nominees for